Welcome back, everyone, to LA class. And today we are going to be looking at our next section of the Odyssey, which is entitled Scylla and the Charybdis. Okay, for this section, which starts on page 978 here, remember to have out your 12 steps of the hero's journey because we're going to be adding to that. And before we get started, let's go ahead and pull up our map here real quick and remember kind of where we are. So we left off in our last section just after the sirens. So Odysseus overcomes the sirens by tying himself to the mast and having his men put earwax in their ears so that they cannot hear the sirens call as they go past them. Now, our goal is to get past this little narrow strait here where we're going to have a couple monsters waiting for us. Okay, so let's start on the 978 in our story. But scarcely had that island faded in blue air than I saw smoke and white water, with sound of waves and tumult, a sound the men heard, and it terrified them. Oars flew from their hands, the blades went knocking wild alongside till the ship lost its way. With no oar blades to drive her through the water, well, I walked up and down from bow to stern, trying to put heart into them, standing over every oarsman, saying gently, "Friends, have we never been in danger before this? More fearsome is it now than when the Cyclops pinned us in his cave. What power he had! Did I not keep my nerve and use my wits to find a way out for us? Now I say, by hook or crook, this peril too shall be something that we remember." Okay, a few things here. First off, as it mentions here, our epic hero speech, a great speech Odysseus gives right here, essentially saying, all right, these two monsters are going to be fearsome, the Scylla and the Charybdis. They're going to be fearsome, but we can get past it. We already overcame the great Cyclops. And then this line down here, he says, now I say by hook or crook, this peril too shall be something that we remember. And by saying it is something that we remember, he's saying that they will live. Because to remember it, you have to be alive, right, to remember it. So a great speech there by Odysseus, trying to give his men courage before the big battle. Okay, going on. Heads up, lads. We must obey the orders as I give them. Get the oar shafts in your hands and lay back hard on your benches. Hit these breaking seas. Zeus, help us pull away before we founder. You at the tiller, listen and take in all that I say. The rudders are your duty. Keep her out of the combers and smoke. Steer for that headland. Watch the drift, or we fetch up in the smother and you drown us. So essentially, if we look over here at our notes here, the combers and smoke are the large waves that break on the beaches and the ocean spray. So just directing them how to get past this narrow strait here. Okay, going on. That was all, and it brought them round to action. But as I sent them on towards Scylla, I told them nothing, as they could do nothing. They would have dropped their oars again in panic to roll for cover under the decking. So this right here, it's a little bit like a pilot who knows that they might be flying into some trouble, and he might say, oh, we're going to have some turbulence, but he probably won't ever say, there's like a 30% chance we live through this, right? Because that's not going to help anyone. That's just going to cause panic, and it's not going to help the pilot make it through. So that's a little bit what Odysseus is doing here. Telling them about this Scylla, this monster here, and what it's capable of is not going to help anything. So he just tells them to row on, right? It's going to be fine. Going on here, Circe's bidding against arms had slipped my mind, so I tied on my cuirass and took up two heavy spears, then made my way along to the foredeck, thinking to see her first from there, the monster of the gray rock, harboring torment for my friends. So Circe said that there's nothing you can do to the Scylla. You can't harm it. You can't kill it. So don't try. But Odysseus, it says, forgets about that. And so he takes up arms to try to help protect his men against this monster. I strained my eyes upon the cliffside, veiled in cloud, but nowhere could I catch sight of her. And all this time, in travail, sobbing, gaining on the current, we rowed into the strait. Scylla to port, and on our starboard beam, Charybdis, dire gorge of the salt sea tide. By heaven, when she vomited, all the sea was like a cauldron, seething over intense fire when the mixture suddenly heaves and rises. Okay, so these two monsters, let's talk about them here for a second. So the Scylla is a six-headed beast that lives in the caves along that strait, so that narrow pass, and it lives there because it knows ships have to go through there, and then it just picks them off with its long six heads. The Charybdis is a completely different beast in general. It essentially is this monstrous sea beast that sucks in water, and when it sucks in water, it eats the things that it sucks in. And when it does this, it creates a whirlpool. Right? They'll describe it here in a second as a funnel of the maelstrom, but it's just a giant whirlpool that sucks everything in and eats it, and then it spits all the water back out. So you have this huge amount of water that then sprays up into the sky and then falls down. So those are the two monsters they have to get past here. Okay, continuing on, the shot spume soared to the landside heights and fell like rain. So that's after the Charybdis sucks everything in and shoots the water out. It falls down like rain. But when she swallowed the seawater down, we saw the funnel of the maelstrom, heard the rock bellowing all around, and dark sand raged on the bottom far below. My men all blanched against the gloom. Our eyes were fixed upon the yawning mouth, in fear of being devoured. Then Scylla made her strike, whisking 6 of my best men from the ship. I happened to glance aft at ship and oarsmen and caught sight of their arms and legs, dangling high overhead. Voices came down to me in anguish, calling my name for the last time. So his men, as they get taken away by this monster, crying out to Odysseus to save them, as he can do nothing. A man surf casting on a point of rock for bass or mackerel, or mackerel, whipping his long rod to drop the sinker and the bait far out, will hook a fish and rip it from the surface to dangle wriggling in the air. So these were borne aloft in spasms towards the cliff. So this is a long metaphor describing what it looked like to him. So the Scylla is like a man fishing, right? And it grabs the men from the sea and then rips them out from the sea or the ship, and then rips them high into the air, just like you would hook a fish and then rip it out of the sea up onto land. So that's just a big metaphor describing what it looked like from Odysseus' point of view. Continuing on, she ate them as they shrieked there in her den, in the dire grapple, reaching still for me, and deathly pity ran through at the sight, far the worst I ever suffered, questioning the passes of the strange sea. We rode on. The rocks were now behind, Charybdis too, and Scylla dropped astern. All right, so he does lose some men, but he does manage to make it through with his epic speech and kind of the things that he told his crewmates and things that he didn't tell his crewmates. And he's able to lead his men through these horrible monsters. Okay, let's jump to our 12 Steps of the Hero's Journey, still in part 6. Yes, we are still in part 6. We still have a little bit left here. And we are going to add another sentence right here. So Odysseus shows great leadership as he navigates past the Scylla and Charybdis. So your last sentence there. All right, once you have that sentence down, that is it for today, and I'll talk to you guys next time.